From Wall Street to Main Street, this is Lalate.
It's a big evening of evenings LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check updated 2021. Breaking news out of Washington as the progressives in discussing the recon says everything that's passed, we are keeping it where it is. We ain't removing anything. We ain't cutting anything. We ain't removing a program and we ain't removing a check. In fact, those Democrats still tell viewers this week that they're including that IRS stimulus check. Great, incredible news across the board. Pass a $3.5 trillion recon. Wow. 2 weeks ago, the House passes that massive $3.5 trillion recon. Checks in cluster number 1 passed, including checks for seniors, workers, and individuals. Cluster number 2's checks passed, including money for home repairs and college students. Cluster number 3's checks passed, including cheaper prescription medication and even money for workers. All those clusters of checks passed, and guess what? Still passed. As the progressives say, we're keeping it in there. We're not removing anything. And in fact, we're adding in a monthly IRS stimulus check. Schumer's office tell viewers last week. Democratic leaders tell viewers this week. And then we'll be going over the dramatics that's unfolding as now the Democratic Party in the state of Arizona is now saying to Kristen Sinema, come on board or you're out of here as well. Boy, it's a big night as the Democratic caucus, the progressives, are now using this channel and using your advocacy for that inclusion of that stimulus to get the stimulus over the finish line. As AOC, Jalopal, Sheila Jackson, Bernie, and Liz Warren speak out, and many of them in the last few hours are saying everything that's passed is staying passed. We're going over the finish line together. It's a great night. It's a great evening as the heat is on, and it's not so much here in Los Angeles. I hope it just stops raining. And there we go, as Evening LA starts right now. Hope you're having a beautiful evening across the planet. It's been gorgeous here in Southern California as the weather settled down, but also great news out of Washington. As the Progressive Caucus today, this morning, this afternoon, and since the noontime broadcast said, you know what? Everything that's in that recon is passed, and we ain't taking out anything. We ain't shrimming, and we ain't dicing. This is not the cooking channel. This is LA. And that's huge news for us. They, in fact, say they're adding in that monthly stimulus check. Pass a $3.5 trillion recon, and they say it will remain passed, and they're not going to unpass it. I'll go over all those clusters of checks. Cluster number 2, and cluster number 3, all in there. Then we'll be cutting to those IRS stimulus checks, $1,000 a month after the first month of 2000 for 6 months, those Democrats say. And then we'll be turning to the big exciting details as now the Democratic caucus and the progressives saying, we're holding our ground and we ain't moving, and they shouldn't move. I'll explain to you why. And then big problems with Kristen Sinema. Is she on the move and the move out? Oh boy. It's a big night with a lot of breaking news and stuff you haven't heard since noontime. And it starts right now. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers on YouTube. Recognize what you're part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. You know, it was over a weekend ago where I said on a Saturday evening, Sunday morning, the House passed a $3.5 trillion recon. No broadcast media covered the discussion. No print media even talked about it, and YouTube channels didn't even know what happened. Huge, because guess what? Today, Bernie Sanders and Liz Warren, the progressive senators, saying, we already did this. We passed it. And Sheila Jackson saying, I passed it. I was there that Saturday night. I'm not unpassing it. Wow. They said everything that's passed is going over the finish line. It's confirmed. It's finishing, and it's not going anywhere else. Big details. And this is not just two people. It's the whole progressive caucus is saying it. And I'll have all the incredible great news in tonight's recording. Let's start with first cluster 1. Then cluster 2, cluster 3's checks, all pass and staying in there. And then we'll go over all the incredible details of those IRS stimulus checks going in there. You should be excited. I am too as well. Then we'll be turning to the big details about what the president's doing, what Pelosi is doing, and more importantly, what are the progressives doing. Then we'll be turning to the big exciting details of what you and this channel are now at issue for for historical change for that recon. And then we turn to third stimulus because it's all about financial independence. And I want you to get that big sums of money available right now. 50, 80, 100,000. Does it sound good? I want you to get it. I'm going to show you how. It's coming up later in this video. Stay to the very end. But let's start with that first cluster of checks. Passed. And that is hazard pay, money for seniors, money for children, $51,000 of monthly stimulus checks, and then home repairs, and then items across the board like bikes, cars, and trucks. First, hazard pay got in there. They brought in an old tax code, the earned income tax credit, and they got it in there to include more people and increase in the amount of money every year. Wow. Then up to $4,000 a year to care for an elderly person. Big money. Then up to $4,000 to care for a young child. They got home repairs in there. Free money if you live in a low-income community. And they got $51,000 of monthly stimulus checks. Big details. This is the CTC, made more broader and increasing the eligibility. How much does it pay? Up to $300 every month. Every year, up to 18 years, as long as that household is a low-income household. Wow. And that's $51,000 a child. Then they got money in there for college grants to the university, to the student, and also to the Pell Grant, being tax-free. And finally, money for bikes, cars, and trucks. All electric, all U.S. auto manufacturer. First, 15% for the purchase price of a new electric bike. Then, $7,500 for the purchase of a new electric car. Then, even more if the car's business use, and even more if the car is a truck. In a second, we go with the second cluster of checks. They got them passed. And the third cluster, and those IRS stimulus checks that the Democrats say even this week and last week, and to no less than 1,000 viewers of this channel, it's going in there. Great news. You should be excited. But first, let's take a detour over third stimulus because you know how we do it on this channel, financial independence. Getting as much money as you can, and I want you to get this money. And guess what? I got an additional $13 billion for you right now today. The federal government, Treasury, sent out that extra $13 billion, and here's a statement. If you remember, you have it in the newsletter. Treasury is happy to provide the state and local governments with these additional resources to help Americans in time of rental assistance. Wow. Now let's turn to the second cluster of checks. They got those in there, and those checks are big, which remind us that this recon is for every state. Red, blue, purple, and it's for every walk of life. Yes, it does not have to be COVID related. And this is on top of those stimulus checks, which coming up later in this video are individuals, $75,000 or less, married couple, $150,000 or less, double it, and household of four. And yes, if you're on SSI and SSDI, you would get those as well as they so represent. All right, let's go to the second cluster of checks. They are the paid family leave and paid medical leave, which is huge, up to $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year, split in half. $800 a week if you make $35,000 a year, split in half. $400 a week if you make $15,000 a year. Paid family leave, you have to stay at home because your wife is pregnant. Paid medical leave, you have to stay at home because your son broke his leg. Then they got other checks in this second cluster, which are deliciousness. They got checks for childcare programs, household tax credits, Medicare benefits to include dental, vision, and hearing, checks for seniors, more about those checks for seniors in the third cluster. And then they got weatherizing your home checks. Wow, you definitely need to weatherize the home. Always weatherize the home, especially if the moderate Democrats are on the roof. Yeah, as I always say, keep the moderate Democrats out of the House and certainly the Senate. There you go. And then we got money for universal pre-kindergarten and tuition-free community college. Definitely needed to take that free community college class called What the World is Lalate Saying? It's for that viewer who's just always confused by me. And, you know, if it's called Lalate 101, when you want to take the whole language class, then you can take LA 202, which is the foreign language called Los Angeles. Yeah, they just talk really funny out there. Don't understand them. In a second, we go over the third cluster checks and those IRS checks coming up. Stay with me. We got a lot coming up in this video. But first, the big exciting details is what's going on with Congress. Well, today, since noontime, yeah, this is totally breaking news tonight on evenings, is that Jalapal came out and said, we are, as progressives, which is not two people, it's a lot of them, we are not taking anything out of the recon, ever. Oh, boy, that's delicious. And that's exactly what Bernie Sanders said this morning, and Liz Warren, who are, of course, progressives, but on the Senate side, they said we're not removing anything ever. Now, Jalapal did have a compromise, and guess what her compromise was? Exactly the compromise I've been discussing on this channel since Sunday. Yeah, Are we in the same wavelength? I just feel it. I just feel I'm in the Jalapal wavelength. I have all this incredible great news for you coming up in just a second. How they're getting this recon over the finish line. And they will get over the finish line. And this is huge. Jalapal basically says, once you get these things out the door and you get them approved as law, the future Congresses will continue to extend them because they'll be so beneficial. It'll be too controversial to end them. I love this mindset. It's a beautiful mindset. Not only is it a positive mindset, it's actually true. When people see the benefit of these great things, they're going to continue them as often as they can. Coming up in a second. But time to the third cluster of checks. Yeah, we got a lot coming up. Stay with me. That third cluster of checks, they got them in there. And these are pass. Huge, huge. Free skill mills for all, checks. Cheaper prescription medication, checks. Checks for farmers, checks for free internet, checks for clean energy, checks for workers, and checks for seniors, like low eligibility age for Medicare, checks for dental, checks for vision, checks for hearing care. Two of these checks in this second cluster, this third cluster, the president loves because they're instant savings. You know, one of the issues that some of the legislators have, I'm not going to say who they are, but they said them publicly, is that the broadcast media is not going through these checks with anyone. They're not covering even that the recon passed 2 Saturdays ago. So people don't know what's in this recon. Well, I mean, unless you're a viewer of this channel. And so this is very important. And one of these items, the president said, I wish more people knew it was in there. Cheaper prescription medication. Why? Because it's an instant savings. The minute this becomes law, you would instantly keep extra dollar bills in your wallet. How does this look like? You go to the pharmacy today, and you go to the pharmacist and say, hello, Mr. Pharmacist, I have a horrible headache. Oh, you do, Helen? I'm so sorry. What's the problem? Moderate Democrats? Yes, how'd you know? I said, do you have a solution for that, Mr. Pharmacist? I do. The midterm elections. Yeah, you have good jokes, don't you? Yeah, see for symbols. Yeah, can you give me a prescription, please? I'm sort of rushed here. Okay, yeah, it's two $20 bills. You pay $40 bill. And then when you still have a headache after this becomes law, because the moderate Democrats maybe still be around, then when you go to refill the prescription, you may only have to take one $20 bill out of the wallet. Then they're going to have free internet. Really wonderful. Free internet across the country. I mean, they shouldn't have it in Arizona for that, at least in one person's office. She should not have internet. But everyone else, we should all have internet. And it's cities, counties, and states will be given fortunes from the federal government so that you can connect to the web and tell Kristen Sinema how much you love her. And when you go to that free internet, all you have to do is say, hey, what's the username and password? The username is Sinema No More. And the password is Mansion YouTube. There you go. Great username and passwords. They usually work. And there you go. In a second, we'll be going over in the second half of this video, the big news, great news that you're hearing for the first time on Evenings LA is Jalapal spoke out about what will happen with the recon and what won't happen with the recon, despite what anyone else is asking her to do. Oh, I love it. Yeah, it just zings beautifully. And guess what? It's exactly what I said that she was going to do. Oh boy. Then we'll go over what Chuck and what Bernie and Liz said this day, what Sheila Jackson said. This is great stuff. And of course, we'll go over the trouble that's unfolding with Kristen Sinema and her political career. But first, let's turn to that IRS stimulus check. That IRS stimulus check is getting great because this week, which is only 2 days into the week so far, viewers have gotten a confirmation again that those IRS stimulus checks are going in there after they advocated to those Democratic leaders. Viewers have been advocating to Democratic leaders for no less than about 8 weeks, but they significantly have been advocating for the last 3 weeks. It was 2 weeks ago that the House passed that recon. The week before that, up to that point, 1,000 viewers have been told by no less than a dozen Democratic senators and House members they will be adding it in there. Remember future tense. That was always future tense. Will be added it in there. 2 ways to add it in there. On the House side, added it in while doing the recon language. Senate side, added it in during a 2-day votorama. I don't repeat in every video, but I assume you remember how they add these things in there. Well, what's important to note is that when they passed that recon on that Saturday night, Nancy Pelosi and the president both said it's just sort of a package. It's not a bill. So if you want to add stuff in there, tell me right now we can add stuff in there. And Pelosi's office was among the offices that said she will be added it in there to viewers' channel. Well, since that vote last Wednesday, Chuck Schumer's office told Donnie's wife that a monthly stimulus check provision is going in there. There you go. I'll have more about what's happening and why Bernie's office said that same thing three times last week. And the assurances coming on this week is more. We got a lot coming up as Evenings LA continues. It's a big night and so much unfolding. I'll see you back in 60 seconds as the excitement continues on Evenings. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LA Daily for the excitement of the new LA live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LA at 9 a.m. Home LA returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LA at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LA Late. And the excitement continues right now on Evenings LA with incredible great news as everything in the recon that passed is staying in their past and will not be unpassed. I know it's a strange sounding verb, but that's actually one of the discussions going on right now, is whether things that are passed and are now law should not become a law. What? Yes, and guess what? The progressives say, that's ridiculous. We're not undoing something we've done. We're going over the finish line. Everything that's passed in this channel is going and staying passed, said the Progressive Caucus today. New comments tonight on Evenings LA. You're seeing from Jalapal coming up in just a second. And also Bernie and Liz Warren's comments as well. Big exciting details about that monthly stimulus check that are new tonight on Evenings, and also trouble with Kristen Sinema's career and big details about that. And then, of course, the advocacy of this channel and why everything is changing by the minute. It's a big night and it's a big evening, and I'm excited you're here. So subscribe. A 400,000 subscribers YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. You're not going to hear the breadth of the coverage. You're not going to hear about the recon or the checks or the items anywhere else in broadcast media. They don't cover it. You only see these details here. Hit that subscribe button right now. Coming up next is Overnights Crypto. And then right after this video, it'll automatically take you to a new show I tested last night, which is called Evenings Countdown. It's an encore show. And boy, you really loved it last night, so I'm bringing it back. This show will automatically take you into our new show, Evenings Encore. And then we go into shows at 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11:30 tonight. With that, let's go over to the exciting details. As a big surprise unfolded that no one saw coming. Over the weekend, one viewer reported the shocking big exclusive. A top aide for Bernie Sanders' office in D.C., the Vermont senator, told a viewer of this channel that Sanders' office has now been logging, keeping track, keeping records of your advocacies to Sanders' office for inclusion of stimulus in this recon and your support for Bernie Sanders for this recon battle. Why? Several reasons why. One, your advocacy has been very impassioned. That is very unique. Each viewer has had a very unique story, as I said, for you to bring it. You represent a big swath of American landscape. Red states, blue states, Republican viewers, Democratic viewers. Number three, that you're very professional, respectful, and very well spoken in your messages. And number four, that all the Senate offices are getting your calls, and they're getting thousands of those calls, and now they want to show them to the moderate Democrats and say, do you really not want to do this for your state? Your state's residents are calling my offices saying they want it. This is huge. It was several weeks ago where I said pick up the phone and advocate and why advocacy is so important. And now we see that what I said actually happen. I said, if you flood offices with phone calls saying, I need it, my family needs it, my community needs it, and you flood these particular offices, then they'll say, have you been getting those LA phone calls? We have. LA viewers are calling me that are in red states, blue states, Republican viewers, Democratic viewers. They're all saying they want it, and we got to do it. And we got to keep track of it and show it to our opponents, the moderates, and say, hey, you better do it, because this is what we're hearing from your residents of your states. They're all saying it. And now the senators are reporting, they're communicating amongst themselves saying, yeah, I've heard about the advocacy from Lalate's channel. It's important that this channel is delivering something that the Senate Democrats specifically don't have anywhere else. Number one, broadcast media is not covering the recon. Number two, it's not covering the programs, the checks of the recon. So broadcast viewers don't know what's in these recons. Number three, the viewers of broadcast media don't have any interactivity like we do on this channel. You have the ability to interact, and you represent California, New York, blue states, Texas, Florida, red states. You're Republican, you're Democrat, and you're coming together as one to say, I support it. They don't have anything like that. And you've been learning so well what these items are and learning what advocacy looks like, so that when you call up, you think ahead of time. I got to tell what my story is, why I'm unique, what is about me. And they are logging those notes. Now, Ben Tolchin, a Democratic pollster, had a fascinating quote just a few days ago. He said that Obama would have done it differently. He would have gone to the state of Arizona and said, Arizona residents, do you want this? Well, if you do, then tell your Senator, Kristen Sinema. Well, I've been doing sort of a version of that all along. And now we've been doing it ever more. I said over the last few days, if you're specifically in Arizona or West Virginia, don't forget to mention that when you call to advocate. Hi, I'm an Lalate viewer. I'm from Arizona, and I need to tell you why I need stimulus. I had a wonderful viewer from Arizona send me a beautiful message on social media, said, I'm in Arizona. I want it. All my friends want it. I'm going to pick up the phone, and I got 400 people that are ready to call and say, we're in Arizona. We all want it. We will make it very clear. This is big. This is very, very big, because guess what? Two big battlegrounds are brewing for actually three, for Kristen Sinema tonight. Number one, polls back in Arizona show Kristen Sinema's popularity plummeting very, very quickly. She's never seen her popularity fall so quickly in such a short duration. Number two, there is a new super PAC that has been formed in just the last week. It's called Super PAC Sinema. It may look like it's a PAC to raise money for her. It's not. It's a super PAC raised to raise money for a Democratic primary challenger to Sinema. Her past 3 or 4 elections, she's had no Democratic opponent. She's just taken the Democratic Party right to the general election and got the win. This time, there's actually a super PAC trying to get a Democratic challenger to take her down. And guess what? As if that was not enough, number 3, the Democratic Party in the state of Arizona is now saying that they will not support Sinema if she continues down her path about the recon and the filibuster. They are ready to now support a Democrat challenger to Sinema. So this is exactly what Obama did. And in a way, this is sort of what we're saying, which is you need to show you are in these states, you want this money, get the money out the door, and boy, they are listening. All right, let's go over these monthly stimulus checks. And you got to know, number one, tonight, the situation is better than it ever was before for a series of reasons. One, Democratic leaders have now told viewers of this channel over last week and this week, which is now 2 weeks since the recon passed, they're still putting it in there. Going into the recon vote, they were using future tenses. We'll be adding it tonight and this week and last week. Sanders, Schumer, and other Democrats like Omar and Jalopal have continued to tell viewers of this channel as they advocate they're going in there. Let's go over all the credible details starting right now with the big details of what happened about 8 weeks ago. 8 weeks ago, I said, pick up the phone and advocate for the inclusion of a stimulus check. And WR did. He picked up the phone and called Senator Chris Coons, Democrat, Delaware, said, I need a stimulus check. I need it. And he advocated vigorously, and Senator Chris Coons said, yes, we're doing it. Now, Coons is a Democrat. He's one of Joe Biden's oldest confidants. And he said, yes, we're doing a monthly stimulus check provision, and we're adding it in there. Then, about 3 weeks ago, you saw this channel really pick up. And I want you to feel that same spirit, because the news cycle is changing by the hour, on the hour. Today alone, I hope you didn't miss any video, because this show is quite different than the noontime show. And that started about 3 weeks ago, plus a lot of exclusives. I told you that the House Democrats would be writing the recon. They did. Sheila Jackson, we're going to go over her in a second. Number two, that the House Democrats would vote first on the subcommittee. They did, passed 2 weeks ago. Then number three, that after they passed it, it would go for a vote on the House floor first before the Senate. They will. And number four, that Bernie is very important to the equation. At the time, Bernie Sanders said, unlike prior budget chairmen of the Senate, I like to get out amongst the people when doing a recon. And when I heard that, I said, pick up the phone and advocate. Pick up the phone and call Bernie Sanders, advocating for inclusion of a monthly stimulus check, and tell your story. And Brother Joshua did. Lynn Glenn did, and Margaret did. All three getting the same message back. It's going in there. Now, what is advocacy? And what does advocacy look like? Advocacy involves telling your particular story. Everyone has a very different, unique story. It all involves sentences that end with periods. I need a stimulus check because this is what's going on with my financial situation, my family, my church, my neighborhood, my community, my business, my town, my state. I got to tell you why I need it. My medical condition, my legs, my arms, I got to tell you, or my aunt's back or this. I need to tell you what's going on and why I need it. Remember, I never want you to post anything about your financial information on this channel or anything about your medical history. But when you advocate, certainly explain to these elected officials why you need certain things. And that's what two viewers said in the last few days. Margaret picked up the phone and said, I cried when I advocated, so much so that the staffer cried with me. Another viewer saying, I had 10 surgeries during this pandemic. It's not enough, this SSI DI check for me to raise 2 teenage daughters. And they advocated. And that's what Brother Joshua did. Picked up the phone and advocated to Senator Bernie Sanders' office and said, I need a stimulus check. Period. Sentence. And they said, yes, $1,000 or $1,300. It's going in there. 3 to 6 months, but he needs to hear your advocacy. And with that, we did not know it meant that Bernie only needs to hear the advocacy. It's more like Bernie needs to hear it so he can tell other people, I'm getting those messages as well. Let me play for you the messages I'm getting on my voicemail so you hear what viewers from LA are saying across the board. Now, it continued to another level as Donnie made the advocacy thereafter. After I told viewers to do what Bernie's office told Brother Joshua, to tell Bernie you want it and need it. That's what Donnie did. He writes the following. I called Bernie Sanders and the secretary said they're doing it for stimulus. I need it for my city. I need to progress. And everything I told her, and she said, okay, they're doing it for a stimulus check. That's the face of advocacy. These are screen grabs you're seeing from the comments in this channel and also in social media. Here is what Hurricane Tina writes. She said, I called Bernie's office and they said they're putting a forced stimulus check in there. Carolyn writes, I called Bernie Sanders' office, said, I'm losing everything we got. People are losing homes and they're losing everything they got. And Bernie's office said they're putting a forced stimulus check in there. The messages kept on coming on in. Here is another one from Janice. I called everyone I called. I called also Omar's office in Jalapal. Here is Yaya calling over to Ron Wyden, advocating for that inclusion of the stimulus check. And getting confirmation, yeah, SS200 is going in there. By that point, we had nearly 1,000 viewers of this channel getting the same confirmation from Coons, Sanders, Warren, Schumer, and Casey that a monthly stimulus check is going in there. But I said, pick up the phone and call over to AOC and Jalapal and other people as well. I also said, call as many offices as you can call. And that's what Will did. I called Bernie, I called Liz, I called Chuck Schumer. This is what Will wrote. And I explained my situation. That's the version of saying he explained his advocacy. And all three of the secretaries confirmed there's a stimulus check. Liz Warren said $1,400 to $2,000, 6 to 12 months, it's going in there. And then I said, pick up the phone and go over and do the House side, AOC, Jalapal, and Omar. And Janice did. Janice was in the morning show this morning. She called 3 more offices today. God bless Janice. She got Jalapal's office on there. They said yes, and Omar's office as well. And then Mark got Pelosi's office on the phone. And Mark writes the following. Pelosi's staff told me they would be doing a fourth for the amount of $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, and they're almost done negotiating it. done negotiating the amount, that the amount would be multiple checks, and that'll be $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000, approximately 6 months. The advocacy continued to come on in. Here was Ida writing, got off the phone with Omar's office. They're putting $2,000 in the first month, $1,000 thereafter. Here's Lynn Glenn, called Jalapal's office. Secretary says they're putting it in. That's the face of advocacy, and that's why you want to continue to advocate. The great news is that we had that recon pass 2 weeks ago. And when it passed, Pelosi said, it's just sort of a package. You want to add stuff in? You can. That's what all these Democrats have said. We'll be adding it in. Remember, 2 ways to add it in. On the House side or the Senate side. The House members can add it into the legislation, or the senators, if the House members don't take care of it, the senators can add it in during the 2-day vote-a-rama because they go last. Huge details. Now, the great news is that last Wednesday, Chuck Schumer confirming to Donnie's wife, it's going in there. And after she advocated. And Bernie's office 3 times last week, Omar Jalapal this week, I think even today, several viewers said they got the same confirmation as well. It just said the same thing over and over again. Great news across the board. Now let's go over to what is going on with the recon, with the president, Pelosi, Jalapal, Omar, Bernie, Liz, breaking news at evenings, and a breaking comment from Jalapal. Here's what's going on. The recon is this big package that in there has programs like $4,000 to care for the elderly, like the hazard pay, like the 15% for the bike, or the $7,500 for the car, or the weatherwise in your home. Each is a program. They're also called by one person, Sheila Jackson, like a loaf of bread. So what did Jalapal say tonight? You're hearing this for the first time. Right now, it just happened minutes ago. Jalapal said, under no situation are we removing any program from the recon. Wow. Does that sound like it's repetitive? It is, because Jalapal said the same thing on Sunday. But Jalapal did give us an insight as to where the change may occur. The time horizon. Wow. Does that sound so familiar? It is. I've been telling you over the last 48 hours. That's where the progressives will make the change. Let's go over what's going on. Over the weekend, the progressives, AOC and Jalapal both said, we're not removing anything from the recon. If there's a program in there, it's staying in there. And the best quote of the weekend, or the most in-depth interview, I guess I should say, was by Sheila Jackson, who's the number 2 in the progressive caucus of the House. And she's right under Jalapal. And she's the person who wrote the recon. So she sort of has a little bit of an interest in this. And she's the person who's on that House floor in the middle of that night, that Saturday night, passing the recon. Yeah, so she's worked tooth and nail to get that recon out for you. What did she say during that interview? She said the recon has a lot of programs in there, and those programs are like a loaf of bread. She said, we are not removing any loaves of bread. Number 1. Number 2, we are not going to do a half-baked loaf. She also said, what does she mean? Meaning that we're not going to do the program with less money going to the recipient. We're not doing that. So if we're sending $10 to the recipient, we're still going to send $10 to the recipient. We're not sending the recipient $1. And we're not taking out the program so the recipient gets nothing either. Wow. This was huge. Now, what did I tell you over the last 48 hours? I told you the last 48 hours, there's 2 ways for the recon to get modified to get the moderate Democrats to agree to it. The Sheila Jackson way and the Bernie Sanders way. Well, guess what? Tonight, minutes ago, Jalapal reconfirmed she validates and supports the Bernie Sanders way to modify the recon. No surprise, but guess what? It's exactly what I told you would happen. So when we look at Sheila Jackson, she said the way that you can modify the recon without modifying the programs, without modifying the loaves of bread, is changing the way it operates on the back end, namely the corporate and rich people's taxes. Each program under the recon is paid for by raising corporate taxes and raising rich people's taxes. If you modify those items, you can still have the programs. You can still have the programs for the same amount of money. Very, very consistent message. So, what did I also say to you out of my analysis using what Bernie Sanders said back in July? Back in July, Bernie Sanders went to the negotiations for the reconciliation procedural. And remember, we have two steps, recon procedural and recon substantive. To go into the recon procedural negotiations with the senators like Sinema, he said, what price tag you want? I want $7 trillion. They said, no, you're not going to do $7 trillion. Do something less. I said, okay, I'll do $3.5 trillion, but we're just going to do it over a shorter period of time. They said, deal. They agreed, the Senate Democrats, to a $3.5 trillion recon. They called it for a vote, and they passed the recon procedural. Now, I had explained to you over the last 2 days, how did Bernie go from 7 to 3.5, which is exactly half the amount of money, and still get everything paid 100%? I said by shortening in the time frame. Here's an example. We're going to give people $10 every year over 20 years, and that's going to cost $7 trillion. No, let's do it $10 every year over 10 years instead of 20 years. Okay, we'll shorten the time horizon in half. That gives them the same amount of money for the next 10 years. We're just not giving them money over 20 years. We'll give it to them over 10 years. That's how he got every program exactly at 100%, every loaf of bread at 100% that he wanted. I said this is a way that the progressives could modify the recon to get it over the finish line with those moderate Democrats, just bringing in the time horizon to less years. What did Jalopal say minutes ago before I went on air? This is brand news tonight. That under no circumstance will we ever remove any loaf of bread. We're not doing a half-baked loaf of bread, but we can give loaves of bread over less years. Wow, exactly what I said. Instead of doing over 20 years, do it over 10 years. Instead of doing over 10 years, do it over 9 years. Now, she also had a fascinating thought, which this only elected official would think this way. Brilliant idea. She said, if we do it for a shorter period of time, like 9 years instead of 10 years, then after 9 years, when everyone sees how wonderful these programs have helped people and Americans over the 9 years, they're not going to end them. They're not going to get rid of them because they're going to be so beneficial that they will have a hard time not continuing them. What a brilliant way of looking at it. I love Jalopal, and I love that comment. It's brilliant. So there you go. I know that may sound very, very elaborate, but that's how it's going on. Now, I want to tell you stuff that's out on the fringe, and I'm going to get to it right now. You know, sometimes I like to insert my opinion. Sometimes I don't want to insert my opinion. One thing I want to insert my opinion about is there's a strange quote that's out there today that, again, is the second time this person is inconsistent. Who is the person? Nancy Pelosi. On Friday, the president went on the record. Then on Saturday, went on the record, and then on Sunday, went on the record 3 times about what? There would be no vote for the roads and bridges at any time until we agree upon the recon. You heard it. He was on the South Lawn. He said it on TV. What did Nancy Pelosi do? She issued a statement that looked like she was calling the vote on the roads and bridges in October. He said, no, we're not. No, we're not. Don't do that, Nancy. So that was then. Guess what she did today again? Today, over the last 2 days, the president said, do not focus on the amount. Focus on the programs. Do not focus on the number. Focus on the programs. Okay, he said that 1,000 times over the last 3 days. What did Nancy Pelosi reportedly do today? She reportedly called the progressives to say, change the number. Again, that's exactly what the president said not to do. I don't know what's going on here, but I want you to know it's out there. I want you to know that the progressives have literally kept their ground. And this is the great news, that Liz Warren and Bernie Sanders today said exactly what I've been saying for several weeks. 1, we came to an agreement upon a recon procedural price before we called the recon procedural vote. It was 3.5. We asked for 7. We got to 3.5. Everyone agreed to it. We voted on it. It was done. So we're not going to unvote the recon procedural. It's 3.5. All we're doing now is to figure out how to spend the 3.5 trillion. I love it. Remember, these are senators saying that. They're referring to senators and their statements as senators before the Senate. We got an amount of 3.5. We're not modifying the amount. Then we have the House side saying, you know what? We're not modifying that budget bill we passed 2 weeks ago by removing things out. Maybe we'll make it, instead of 10 years, we'll make it 9 years, but we're not removing any program. And Pelosi didn't ask them to remove any program. Let me make that very clear. She just said, just think about how to do things differently. Interesting. Uh, all great, great, great stuff for us across the board. Let's turn to third stimulus to the extent we have time right now. First, I want you to understand that there's money available for rent, utilities, food, mortgage, and internet across the board. And we're going to get all of this money right now. First, we're going to go over rent and utilities and also mortgage assistance. You're going to reach out to 6 places. Reach out to all 6. They have different eligibility. They have different pots of money. Here they are. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, and State House Authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. Now, I want you to rely upon that inclusion of that Treasury statement in the newsletter before calling up so you know about this rent that they're getting. Every city, county, and state has it, red, blue, and purple. Next, I want you to reach out to all utility companies. So if you got 5, reach out to 5. Then something new at noon and evenings in LA tonight. I want to say, someone had a very good comment. Can I get money from different places for the same item? Absolutely. Absolutely. I've had a lot of viewers who got rent from different places, multiple sources of rent. So I want you to get this money. One of the things that I'm bringing back to this channel is financial independence. I want you to get as much money as you can today. I don't want you to be sitting around guessing what day and what flavor of tea Chris and Sinema is drinking. I want you to be financially independent because you got $10,000 of rent paying you all the way to next year, $20,000 for utilities. Once you get all this big money you can get right now. Next, the nonprofits. I want you to lean on the nonprofits. Now is the time. Now is the point to get that money for the nonprofits. The nonprofits are 5. Here you go. United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, and St. Vincent de Paul. The nonprofits pay for all the same items under third stimulus, but with different eligibility. So if you're having an eligibility problem, reach out to the nonprofits. They do it differently. Also, the nonprofits help with other items the federal government doesn't have. So I had one viewer send me a text message on social media. He's homeless, living in his car. I said, nonprofits, they help with homeless people into shelters. They help with clothing. They help with food, different things the federal government does. And they have very, very quick turnaround times. Again, those 5 nonprofits are United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, and St. Vincent de Paul. Next, the return of those unemployment benefits. From the state, overpayment of computer error, yeah, it's landing $2,000 to $5,000. And those unemployment benefits, you pay taxes to the IRS, yes, those are coming back in that refund check. Average payment is about $1,200 to $2,000. Finally, SNAP. It's October, and guess what? Everyone's benefits are going up an average of 25%, lifetime automatically. If you haven't got to SNAP, contact Department of Agriculture right now. Everyone should be on SNAP because it's a big, big amount of money. Viewers are telling me they're going from $250 to $500 a month. It's been a big turnaround time, and nothing can be more exciting for me is to see the numbers you're getting for SNAP across the board. Finally, if you haven't become a member, consider becoming a member. The link is under the video. The membership newsletter goes out every night about 2 hours after this video at about 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, written by me Monday through Friday via the Lalate alert system and the YouTube member alert system. It has all the big money under first, second, and third stimulus for you to get. I want you to get lots of it. I want you to be like Mark at 51,000, Johnny at 8,000, Mark's friends at 100,000, Lorraine at 110,000. I want you to get these big sums of money. That's what financial independence is. I want you to get this money as far as you can get it. And with that, we go into the final updates of this final big evening's broadcast. Number 1, the progressives make very clear, we're not doing a half-baked loaf and we're not taking out loaves. Everything that's in the recon is staying in the recon by item across the board. The big update tonight is that Jala Paul does confirm exactly what I thought she was going to say, that we can not only modify how we pay for the recon on the backside with the corporate taxes and the rich person's taxes to bring down the number, but we can also bring in the time horizon. Instead of running for 10 years, we can run for 9 years, and that will bring down the number. And then the next body of Congress, or in a year or 2 from now, we can extend it again because everyone will love these programs so much they won't want to get rid of it. Democrat caucus members say they are inserting that stimulus check in there. They are promising to you that they're inserting in there. There's room to add it in there. Next, Makes 3 promises to yourself. 1, pick up the phone and advocate and say why you need stimulus. Number 2, make sure you say your state and that you're an LA viewer. Number 3, I want you to get money for rent and utilities and all these items as far into 2022 as possible. We've done this before. We know what this time of the year starts to look like. Get the money right now as far as you can. And finally, the nonprofits. Big, fast turnaround times at the moment. They're great. St. Vincent de Paul, United Way, paying money for rent very quickly to some viewers of this channel. So get the money right now before the cold winter months kick in, before they start getting all those big phone calls in their offices. And with that, coming up next is our new show, which was a big hit last night. Let's see if it is tonight. It's called Evening's Countdown. It's an encore show that goes a little bit over what's going on. And guess what? You look at it and it's like, wait a second. He said that was going to happen, and it happened. Yeah, it's sort of like you check back. You're like, okay, now you know it's happening, and you're gonna look back at when I said I think it was going to happen. We're gonna have that coming up, and then we have shows tonight 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11:30, and overnight's crypto playing on the channel as well. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers on YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power Casino VIP. Get financial independence. Get all the big money right now. Keep on pushing, keeping positive. Stay focused and stay informed. And stay with that life.